What's up, guys? So, after how many days has it been? 4 or 5 days since the last time I streamed. I am able to come back, report myself, and prove that I am, in fact, still alive. And basically, to just give you a quick summary of what has been going on in my life. Hey, Dan. Uh, so, needless to say, but I'm still gonna say it, I have been incredibly miserable. Like, work has been absolutely consuming my life, and like I have said before, I understand that stuff will get better before, or sorry, stuff will get worse before it gets better. So, I was prepared for that, but I still hate the fact that it's still happening. Hello, JP. And yeah, this is not going to be a complaint video at all. It's just that there's still some stuff that remains inside of me that I just need to let go of to maybe continue and carry on with my life and just feel better. But anyways, long story short, nothing really has changed except that stuff when it changes, it doesn't mean that it's better for me. It just means that like expectations of me are going to increase, whereas the reward is just very little. But then again, I understand that if I am submitted to serving someone else, that is just the way things are. That's just how you play the game. So if I don't like it, I can pick up and go, right? No, of course not, because that's only going to make my situation worse, and I am picking the lesser evil of the two evils. And then physically, I have an incredibly massive headache. I have had a terrible headache for like 2 weeks. I am hoping that it is just tension. I really have no way of checking, but I do find it that on the days that I am off, I do not feel it quite as bad, but I know that something is up, and if I don't do something about it, it's only going to get worse. And of course, a week and a half ago, I saw that I was 10 pounds overweight, which I'm not surprised, I could tell. And I told myself, you know what, I'm going to shed those 10 pounds within 2 weeks. And even though I thought that I was progressing, I have not changed. I feel like I lost a little under a pound. Like, I'm still at the same pound that I was at last week, but I noticed that it's a few decimals like smaller. So like whatever decimal point comes after the decimal point, I cannot think logically right now. But anyways, I lost about point 4 pounds, it seems. So I guess that's progress, right? But anyways, today I wanted to go to the gym, but of course I had to do a 9-hour shift because I had to stay later for an extra hour, because of course everything bad in life has to happen before you're ready to go, and of course you cannot leave until you sort that out. So by the time this happened, my mother and my brother had gone to the gym, so I had to miss out, and then I got upset, even more upset, because I'm like, I had a plan. I was eating prepared to go to the gym. Like, I was eating, making plans to go to the gym. So now today is my brother's birthday, and I pretty much had to skip out on them because I had requested today off 2 months ago, or at least 1 month ago. It was approved, but I still got scheduled for it. And because all I saw in my schedule was work, 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 because of some stupid project that we're into, I just did not have a sense of time anymore. I was like, oh, May is here. Okay. But I completely lost track of everything that matters in my life, and I did not catch the fact that I was indeed working on a day that I had approved to be off yesterday when my mom was bringing up the plans about what today was supposed to be. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll go, except that I work tomorrow. And it's a full shift, and it's a shift that has the possibility of extending, because lately, when I get a shift like this, it turns out that I have to stay a little later until I settle everything, because I cannot just abandon what I'm doing until it's done. So, anyways, basically, I had to miss out on the celebration, which would have been, picking up some food and whatnot. It's something that you can do on another regular day, right? But to me, this was particularly significant because I have not done anything with my brother for 11 years. Like, this is the first time he is around in a long time. So I said, sure, let's make up some lost time or some bullshit, right? Of course, it doesn't work like that. So I just told myself, let me make an effort to stream, because I have been trying to for so many days now, and I just couldn't do it. Something as simple as this, I couldn't do it. The stuff that I do on the side that I tell you guys about, which is just trying to sell stuff. I have not been able to sell a damn thing, and I feel like I'm grinding and doing the best that I can and putting in the hours for it, but nothing is happening. So then I was starting to have issues sleeping again because this shift that I have nowadays demands for me to be up even earlier than I'm accustomed to. And I'm one of those people whose anxiety gets so bad and I become so insecure that I keep checking the time. Did I set the alarm for AM and not PM? And do I have everything ready for tomorrow? Do I know where my keys are at? Did I really set this alarm to be loud enough for me to hear it? Is it really going to go off? So, and then I realized this is the point in my life when I need to start making decisions because I can feel that my already poor health is just deteriorating more and more. I'm more tired. I have less energy to do things, stuff that I'm usually interested in. I don't want to do anything. So I'm just miserable overall, but at the same time, all these factors, I do not want to give it the pleasure of bringing me down. So that's the reason why, okay, I may have to neglect some things that I enjoy, but at the end of the day, everything else still gets done. I can still get up in the morning and get this shit done, and my bills get paid, and I don't need anyone's help for that. So I think that I'm all right, but the fact that it still feels like it isn't enough because I'm still having to do something that I would rather not do, and I can feel the effects on my health, like I'm not sleeping, I'm gaining weight, and I am more anxious and more jittery these days. And yesterday in the evening, my feet were numb for like 6 hours. And I'm thinking, great, I can tell that that's high blood sugar because I have been abusing it a lot. Like, I just need to find comfort foods and I cannot help it. And I'm like, well, this wouldn't happen to me if I kept myself busy. But at the same time, I just wanted to resort to something that I enjoy and that I can enjoy on the go as opposed to putting in effort into things. Anything that resembles effort, I just cannot do it. So, me going out to spend time with my family today, it felt like it required effort. And I just came back from a 9 hour day in a building that absolutely sucks your soul. So, the fact that I wasn't even meant to be there, I wasn't even supposed to be there, it just made me feel even angrier. But anyways, I'm going to stop rambling and get on with the topic after I catch up with you guys' comments because I promise that the video will end up more positive than me talking about what makes me just aggravated than I already was. Are you drinking enough water? That is a good question, actually. I realized that I'm not doing as well as I could be. And right now, I have a cup that is full for that reason. So I should be sipping it occasionally. And I do encourage myself to drink water. I have water all over. It's like every corner of this house, there's a bottle of water that belongs to me. And to make matters even better for me, if I can remind a friend to have water, why could I not take care of my own watery needs? But it happens. You take care of others before you take care of yourself. But I guess that is the nature of someone who tends to be a giver. But then again, I don't feel like I'm much of a giver nowadays. But anyways, to answer your question, I am not drinking enough water for sure. But some days I do better than others, and now I'm trying to get better at it. But that is a good question because I will try my best to keep that up. And I am sorry for your headache. I hope it gets better. I'm sure it'll get better. It's just that sometimes I wish that when I get sick, I could just go and have myself checked out just to be sure that there's nothing worse going on. And then this thing on my head keeps getting bigger. So I'm like, is it getting bigger because of my tension? Is it getting bigger because I have brain cancer and I'm about to die and I don't know it? Or if it's just getting bigger because it's just a fungus in my head and it is irritated, so I just have to do better about cleaning my scalp. I just do not fucking know at this point. But anyways, I feel more well than not. So it's not like I cannot form sentences or I'm tripping or I cannot see well or something. So I'm like, it's probably my anxiety trying to make me feel the worst of the worst and try to be a fucking, what is it called? Hypochondriac. When you think that there is a disease that really isn't there. Like, the stuff that the amount of pressure when it mounts on you, you think that you're crazy. And especially me being a woman, I expect for me to lose my shit even more because I'm designed to be an emotional creature. So I'm just trying to hold it together and just surround myself by influences who give me strength as opposed to aggravate my feelings. See what I mean? So this is not me throwing shade on anyone. It's just that in the past I have hung out with the wrong crowd, or the crowd that they weren't necessarily damaging me, but they weren't necessarily equipping me with the weapons that I need in order to fight the battle more efficiently. So I just like to stop for a minute and consider all the natural factors that I have that are against me. And I'm like, okay, naturally, I tend to be an anxious person. I tend to be an insecure person. My self esteem is low, this and that. So I have to somehow hang out with people who are going to make that better for me. And unfortunately, in my circle of friends, there's a lot of people who are just as miserable as I am. So, how could two miseries possibly make a positive? So, that is what I am doing. I am being pretty selective with the folks who I decide to spend time around and with and whom I converse with. And anyone who makes me feel so much better about myself and like I can get up even better or faster in the morning, it's like, okay, this is the person who's definitely rescuing me. And I'm not afraid to admit that there's some stuff that I just cannot handle on my own. So that's why I just like to admit that, hey, I suck at this, I need help, I'm getting frustrated, this is as far as I independently can go. So someone just throw a lifesaver at me, and if not, then let me drown. Sure, I'm not going to blame you. But at the same time, I like to take responsibility for absolutely everything, because at the end of the day, as an adult, I am absolutely responsible for everything that happens to me. So, because I am responsible for everything that happens to me, that's why I'm trying to be responsible about the kind of influences that I have in my life. Because that is definitely going to make a difference. It has made a difference, and I only want it to get better and not worse. So, hopefully, all of that makes sense and you guys can piece it together. I'm really not trying to prolong this, but it just helps to just get it out and let go of that shit. Anxiety sucks. Totally understand. I hope you know that you have so many people that really appreciate you and care about you. You know what? I absolutely believe that, and that is incredibly relieving. And even though I know that in my heart, it helps when I hear someone say it to me, because in the midst of all this chaos, it's very easy to forget the facts. And the facts is that there's people out there who love me and are supportive, and some of them would give everything just to see me feel better and be better and stuff. And some of these people who I'm thinking about are folks who I never even thought I would be cool with. So that on its own keeps me thinking about life in general in a more optimistic way, even if it's challenging at times. But yeah, thanks a lot for telling me that, because it just helps. It helps to hear it from another person as opposed to just hearing yourself echo it to yourself, because you know that it is a fact deep down, but only you are convincing yourself of it. So when someone from the outside comes through and reinforces it, it just feels a whole lot better. So I appreciate that so much. Sounds like you need a good support system. Please prolong it. You need to get it out. I feel like I got it out already. Like as soon as I got through with my shift, I was texting everybody. I was messaging everybody. I was like, this just happened to me. I am upset. It ruined my day. I was not expecting for it to be this bad. In fact, I wasn't expecting for it to be bad at all. I was expecting something smooth. But of course, nothing ever goes the way you expect it to. But, anyways, once I let it out, I want to say 2 years ago, I learned to cope with stuff much better, to where I let go of things almost as soon as they happen, unless they have physical repercussion. So this one, because it stressed me out and frustrated me so much, like I was actually shaking from how frustrated I was. I'm like, okay, this is going to last a little longer than normal for me to let go, because it altered me physically. And to alter me physically, you need a lot. Like a lot needs to go wrong to overwhelm me. But anyways, that just helps remind me that I'm still made of flesh and bone, and I will have my moments, but at least I'm feeling a whole lot better now. And I said to myself, I am not going to let anything keep me from doing the things that really matter to me anymore. So, okay, guys, 15 minutes into the stream, I will finally get around to mentioning the stuff that really means a lot to me. And the reason I picked this topic is because it's been pending for a while. This is what I meant to do about 3 days ago, 2 days ago. But I said, I have the words, but I just don't have like the tone for it. So one of the things that means a lot to me and is actually happening right now as we speak is people support. And the way I find people's support so meaningful is that even when I meet someone who deep down disagrees with me and my ways, like the sole fact that they still respect me and support me, and I don't want to say allow me to be the way that I am, because I am the way that I am, whether there are rules against it or not. But the sole fact that someone can look at themselves and be like, you know what, girl, even though I don't really dig your ways, just because I don't find it suitable for me, if it works for you, you do whatever the heck it is that works for you. So I don't need for people to tell me that I am on the right path, that this is the path to success, that I'm doing the right thing or not. I just want for them to just allow me to be, allow me to try. If I have a belief, if I have a plan, at least they're letting me go about it, as opposed to trying to get in my way for them to exercise their authority and their influence and power over me. Like, please don't be that person. I don't need you to be that person. If I wanted you to be manipulative, I would just go ahead and seek out an incredibly toxic and emotionally damaging relationship, and I would let that person do whatever the hell they want with me. But because I am not that way, that's not gonna happen. So hopefully that makes sense. I hear people saying, "Oh, people support means a lot to me," but for me, I want to break it down in a different way than I'm used to hearing other people talk about it, because I feel like, okay, what is it that makes it so valuable for you, or what are the ways that people support you that make it valuable? And for me, one of the things that has helped me grow is when people do not intervene as much. Like, sure, if you think that I'm about to walk into a trap that's going to lead me to a pit that I will not crawl out of, you get it, you see it. But even if I end up being wrong, you're not going to feel compelled to say, "I told you so," because it is very rare that I end up in that situation in the first place. But the sole fact that you're letting me try and I don't have to explain myself or my existence, it's just very relieving. So I thought that I would mention that and just let you know that that is another way that I think that people support is really meaningful for me. And then another thing that means a lot to me, I mean, a lot. You have no idea how much. And it's been particularly standing out for me for the past 3 years. It has to be people's generosity. And this one, I really hope that I can explain very well because it's just so important for me. And that is that it's not even the fact that someone is giving me something, it's the fact that someone would do it or that someone is even considering it. So, say if someone decides, "Hey, Zam, I know that you like leggings. Here you go. Have $10 to treat yourself with your a pair that you see that you like." It's like it's not even the fact that I'm getting something material that's cool for me and I enjoy and I thoroughly, you know, definitely consume and whatnot. It's just the fact that someone out there says, "You know what? I would dare to treat it to you. Even if I can, even if I cannot, even if I'm not in the position for it. I don't care what you do with the resource that I am supplying you with. Just do something with it that makes you happy and will fill up your soul." So I just picked that example because that's usually the stuff that people know that they can get me that's going to make me happy. It's a gift that I will always approve of. But the sole fact that someone is willing to be like, "Hey, at my house I have these snacks that I know I'm not going to get around to. Here you go. You like to eat, fucking eat it." Even though I know you're trying to lose weight or something crazy. And then like when you guys have chipped in a few like bucks through the stream. Never in my wildest dream did I think that anyone would press that button. But the sole fact that you think about, "Hey, this stranger, I think she's sweet, I think she's cool, I think she's nice," or whatever your motive may be for chipping something in, it's like, yeah, I don't know this person, but I just feel like doing something nice to them. So I absolutely love the idea of one of these days just somehow celebrating people's generosity because I think that that goes such a long way more than we give it credit for. And I think that's something that needs to be acknowledged more and presented more, because when people talk about how bad the world is and how negative, like how everything is going to shit, I can't help but ask, where? Like, that's not happening to me at all. My experience is a whole lot different. So I just want to ask, what's making your experience be that way? And why is it that you only dwell on the negative stuff when there's so much good happening around you or even to you, but you're not even acknowledging it? So hopefully that one made sense. I felt like it might be difficult for me to explain it and put it into words, but hopefully you guys get the point. And then something else that you guys can imagine that means a lot to me is pretty much going hand in hand with what I used to want to do, which was teach. And that is when people grasp a concept after I explain it. And because I loved that so much, you can imagine that the career that I am talking about is I wanted to be a teacher. But it's just that when someone was able to explain something to me that I was having a hard time with, after I understood it, it opened up a world of possibilities for me. So when I am on the teaching end of things and I am able to somehow help someone understand something that they don't get, I know that that person, because they are different from me, and because they are not me, and because they do not think like me, I know that they're going to take what they just learned and that they're going to do something with it, alter it, modify it, whatever, and that will open a new world of possibilities. And I'm pretty sure that that's how inventions have come about and have improved. It's like someone decades ago had the idea of, you know what? What if I could get from point A to point B a little faster? Someone said, oh, here you go, try sticking wheels to things. Oh, stuff is heavy. I wish I didn't have to carry it on my back. I wish I could carry a lot of things on one trip. How about if you take something and you put wheels on it so that the amount of effort that it takes to carry this thing with you is drastically reduced? So someone had to think about those things, but just because they had the prototype doesn't mean that that was a finalized goodie that was going to simplify our lives. So someone must have taught that person to imagine that stuff, imagine that it is possible. Then that person who finally believes it is possible created a prototype, and then someone later on with a different mind, different ideas, picked up that prototype, modified it into something even greater than it already was. So for me, when I teach something to someone, I know that I am passing on the possibility to someone else that they can definitely improve on something that I already know, I already understand, I already can do, I already possess. But because you are different from me, you will see something that I, as an independent being, am not going to be able to come up with on my own. And therefore, you're there existing to modify this and improve it and make it better. It may not happen instantly. It may happen long after I die. It may take a few more people learning the lesson that I just taught someone. But the sole fact that I probably started that for someone because I enabled this person to grasp a concept that they otherwise were not getting, it's like planting a seed. So eventually that seed is just going to like sprout into something that we hadn't seen before. And that just fascinates me. The fact that we're different and I was able to develop a mind into possibly coming up with something that in the future is going to be way better than I could have dreamed of. So hopefully you guys can relate to that one and you guys see where I'm coming from with that one and why I find it so fascinating. But I just like the idea of things progressing. So to sum it all up, we are here for you and don't mind listening. That is what true friends do. Just stand by and be there for you. Exactly. And even though that's simple, that sounds like common sense, it isn't until you actually go through the experience that you don't realize just how important that is. And then another thing that means a lot to me for obvious reasons would be the well being of the environment. And what I want to cover with that is, of course, the basics: land, air, sea. It's important to live in the world that's not toxic, because when you are surrounded by toxicity, let it be literal toxicity or even social toxicity, you're just not the same person. You just cannot function the same way. You cannot possibly go about life feeling satisfied and feeling good about yourself when you are not feeling well physically. And if your environment does not support health and preservation, then you're definitely going to struggle. And this is coming from someone who I used to live in a really polluted town when I was growing up. But it wasn't completely terrible. But definitely, once I moved out of my hometown, I felt that I was feeling a whole lot better. Like, I'm like, oh wow, it is possible to find a place that feels even better than where I was already at. So it's crazy that just going maybe 100 miles away from somewhere, it just makes all the difference in the world. So I'm just very grateful for that. And then on top of that, I also care about the well being of animals. And the reason I want to mention that is because pets to me mean a lot. And because they are a part of the environment, it's like, yeah, I am concerned about it. I am concerned about its well being. When I keep seeing more and more mammals killed off on the side of the road, it's like, oh crap, something needs to change because this is affecting lives that is not necessarily a human life, but just because it's not a human life doesn't make it any less valuable. And even though I disagree with a lot of other animals like insects, I'd be killing some of them mindlessly because I don't want them to get to me. But it's like deep down, I still care about the fact that they're part of the ecosystem. So although I cannot get really scientific about it as I used to when I was a teen, when I was actively studying science, I just realized that I see that environment changing so much. It's like I remember how much greener stuff used to be, and now it's like the environment is different, and because it looks different, I don't hear birds singing like they used to. I don't sense animal activity as much, and I can still hear bugs at nighttime, but when I am able to even notice them, I feel strange because I felt like at some point that was normal. At some point that was like that tune that I would hear and it would soothe me. Listening to bugs singing just used to make me a whole lot better. Like emotionally when I was a kid, it's like, oh, there's a lot of life out there. When it's dark, everything is scary. When you watch a scary movie, if the place is dark and eerily quiet, it kind of induces anxiety on you. That's me. I'm not saying everyone is like this, but for me personally, quietness and just darkness really induces that fear of the unknown, anxiety, and I just cannot take it. But to know that when it gets dark there are bugs outside, it's like, there you go. Just because it's nighttime doesn't mean everything is dead, so I find that soothing. And the fact that some of those things are kind of going away because we keep altering the landscape so much, that worries me, and it just means a lot to me when the environment is doing well because I feel like I benefit from the environment being healthy. So hopefully that makes sense and I didn't get to like, I don't know, like dwell on it too much, but I just thought I would mention it because it's definitely one of those things that I never thought would change so much, and now that I took it for granted for so long, I just want to acknowledge it somehow. And then, of course, part of the environment are people. And the well being of people interests me as long as they are. How can I say this? Okay, people aren't generally bad. I don't think that people are genuinely bad. I just think that they are disoriented. I think that some people are bored or deprived or just frustrated, and they do not know how to handle that frustration except doing things in an attempt to find the easy way out, and they end up making a mistake that really complicates their lives, and they don't need that, and they regret it, but it's way too late now. Okay, but as people, we're part of the environment and we can contribute so much in the same manner that we can do a lot of damage. But because I still believe that people are generally good, I still want for people to be well, even those who can have a negative effect on me directly, because it's like that is just a person who's going through a struggle that they simply do not know how to address, and they just end up affecting the rest of us because none of us have figured out the way to make this person not behave in that manner that affects us all. So, with that comes what I have learned to really polish up, which is my patience. And even though I'm not perfect at it, I don't think anybody ever is, but I have gotten significantly better. And I realized that all you gotta do is, as members of a society, and since we're at close range with one another, why not be patient and try to spend time with that one person who's like that? People who have messed up ways, I tend to avoid them. It's like, oh, you're such a negative person. You just suck the energy out of me. I want to avoid that. I don't want that in my life. I cannot handle it. I don't want you. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear you. I don't want to feel you. I don't want to be with you. I don't want to work with you. I don't want to breathe the same air as you. But then when I think about it, it's like at some point I was that person. At some point I needed help. At some point I was hurting people without really meaning to. At some point I was the one who was completely doing really messed up things. So there was someone out there who was able to like just bring me back around into going to a better path. So if I was able to benefit from that, why on God's green earth am I not going to try to inflict that kind of an influence into somebody else? So I know it's difficult, but I just find that when you're able to help someone recover, everyone benefits. So that person becomes more likely to be more motivated, more inspiring, more positive. They may even do things that benefit all of us. So that's why I include people as part of the environment, because if they're doing well, everyone just benefits, whether directly, indirectly, a lot, or minimally. Either way, it's still important, and I consider it a step in the right direction. And then something else is people who come back to me and or get back to me. And what I mean by that is that I like the feeling of not being forgotten. Like sometimes, like let's say I'm at work and it is way past my lunch break. I may dial my manager, supervisor, whomever, and I go like, "Hey, am I next in line for a break?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, it's just that so and so had to go to the bathroom, or so and so had an issue, and but they're coming back. Don't worry." And then I go, "It's just that I didn't want to be forgotten." And they're like, "No, we haven't forgotten about you. Sorry that we were not able to communicate it, but you're still on the radar." It's like, okay, I have not been forgotten. Because I don't know about you, but when someone says, "Oh, yeah, I completely forgot about that thing I said I would do for you," it's like, why? I would never forget about you. Why do you forget about me? Do you just really not put that much effort into what you do? It's not that at all. It's just that crap happens. People are different. People's retentions are different. And people under stress definitely have a terrible retention. Because yesterday, someone asked me to do them a favor, and on top of that, stick it in a bag that someone was going to pick up. And I remembered an hour after I left, and I was like desperately texting people, "Hey, I'm sorry, I forgot to put this and that in that bag. Make sure that so and so doesn't forget. Can you make sure that when so and so gets there, they get this other thing too?" "Yes, Zam, we got it." And I'm like, okay. I'm trying to be responsible, even though at the moment that it was critical for me to express that, I failed. But I'm still trying to make it right. And I'm still acknowledging the fact that I tripped, I forgot, and I'm a terrible person. But then you say it's no big deal, so I don't feel so terrible anymore. So, see what I mean? It's like when I am in a vulnerable situation, like my lunch break being late, it's like I'm hungry, my performance is declining. Am I being forgotten? Is this child neglect or something? So it's like, no, they have not forgotten about me. It's just that it's not a perfectly smooth day, and today in particular, I can expect a prolonged delay more than normal. So I'm like, okay, so that's what it is. It's not that I have been forgotten, because in the past it has happened. I have been forgotten, and then I regret not bringing it up, and I'm like, oh, I could have totally said something 2 hours ago, but I didn't because I thought that maybe you had a plan. You always had a plan, but hello, people sometimes just people, and people just make mistakes, and sometimes it happens. So, but at the end of the day, when someone just comes back to me, it just makes me feel great, because it's like, great, I was not forgotten. Or if I inquire about something and they don't have an answer, it's like, Sure, I do not have the answers for you, but I will come back to you as soon as I can, as soon as I find out. And it happens. It's like, oh wow, I had forgotten that I even had that question, that I even had that curiosity, that I had even inquired about that. But the sole fact that you remembered for me and you tried to find out for me, it just means a lot to me. It's like, wow, like you actually cared about my question, about my concern, about whatever, like you there's so much more going on in your life, but you actually were able to retain something about me. That just it just really blows my mind. It just makes me feel great. But maybe this is also coming from someone who felt really vulnerable for many years of her life, because I didn't have a daddy, so I feel like that's something, that confidence, like self-confidence, is something that could have been supplied by someone else. So I just constantly feel like I'm just vulnerable at all times, but it's like, no, someone remembered me, someone was able to supply me with this knowledge, and I'm like, okay, great, I was not forgotten. Something about it just makes me feel better. And on top of that, people who always come back to me, it's like the people who always visit me like every night, or whom I hang out with, or the folks who say, oh yeah, I'll make sure to go on that trip along with you. It's like the sole fact that my company is desired, it just means a lot to me. Or like when I go a few days without streaming, or back in the day, it used to be when I would go half a day without making a video, you guys would be like, "Where's Sam at?" or "Where did you go?" This and that. It's like, wow, someone craves my presence. I sometimes cannot even stand myself. It's nothing dramatic, but it's just like, ugh, can I please have a moment when I don't think so negatively? But it's not me being negative. Sometimes it's just being realistic. But it's like, wow, this whole fact there's people out there who actually genuinely desire to see me, and they go out of their way to set aside, even if it's 10 minutes of their day or an hour of their day, and just dedicate it to me. It's like, wow, it just means a lot. So, but anyways, maybe that also comes from the fact that I can be kind of a clingy and needy person, but I have evolved from that quite well lately, to where I don't feel like, oh wow, I cannot live my life at all if I don't have, so and so in my life. But it just feels nice to know that there's someone out there just thinking about me, and they just come over and say hi, or like you guys tuning in. It's like, oh wow, there's people out there who still consider it fun to be around me. Anyways, let me catch up with some comments I know I have pending. La 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 la. Dan says, hope it helps. And when I know, oh, that's so sweet. Thanks so much. Hey, I hope that you didn't feel compelled after my little discourse. It's like, when you tell someone a compliment, like, oh, hey, your hair looks great. And then you like, counter the compliment by also saying, "Oh yeah, your hair looks great too," or something like that. So, but the sole fact that you're thinking about me and you are chipping something in to try to make me feel better, it means a lot to me. So I just want you to know that. But like now I feel bad because I don't want to make it seem like I was trying to pull some feelings or something. But see, stuff like that, it just blows my mind. It's like, how does someone just think to do that? But anyways, just know that it's greatly appreciated, and it really brought me the feeling that I had while I was conveying how that means a lot to me. So anyways, hopefully that makes sense. Thanks so much, Dan. I appreciate it. Sometimes I have to move 6,000 miles to find peace and happiness. I am happy for you. You found it a lot closer. Yeah, it's like just do minor changes and it can really go a long way. But when you do major changes and that goes even farther away, of course you feel the satisfaction. But sometimes you cannot help but wonder, why didn't I do this before? What was holding me back? And then when I think about it, I remember reading a while back a little article about things that people regret when they're older. Traveling is definitely one of them. Or passing on opportunities is another one of them. Like, I wish I would have taken that other job opportunity. Or I wish I would have invested that money that I had on a trip as opposed to, what was the example they used? Something fancy. Like, I wish I would have done that instead of buying a new car or something. So It's like if I ever have the opportunity to do that, sure, I'll take it as long as it's not hurting someone else. Like I wouldn't want for someone else to be like, "Oh, hey Sam, you want to travel? Sure, here you go. Here's I don't know, $500 for you to get a ticket to go somewhere." It's like, no, I know that nobody in my circle of friends can actively afford $500 off their pocket to just be able to be the sponsor of such a thing. But but even then, the sole fact that they're thinking about that and considering that is like it means a lot to me. I often find that the people who don't have a lot are still massive givers. And it blows my mind because I have done the same thing. Like I remember a time when my bank account was like scratching the negatives and I was still buying lunch for someone else even though I needed it. So it's like I'm not afraid of just giving shit. And now I feel like that has long come back to me, like that act of kindness, I guess. It definitely has been repaid in ways that I couldn't even imagine, but I wasn't even thinking about getting rewarded in the future the moment I did it. This is a human being who is having a challenge. I am also having challenges. I am hungry, but I am not as bad as this person who reportedly has not had anything for almost a day now because either they're busy or they're just having a really difficult time financially and we don't get paid until maybe the next day or the next week. So if I can do it, if I can assist in any way, I will do it and not think about it, not even second guess. Then I'll figure out how to solve my own problem. But I have done that and I feel like I benefit more from sharing that with someone else than if I would have used it to ease my own personal discomfort, such as hunger. It's crazy how the world works. And then finally, the last thing that I had thunk about stuff that means a lot to me is being loved and admired. So, with this one is pretty much it goes hand in hand with what I said first about people support and how even when you disagree with me and you're still there supporting me and still believing in me, it means a lot. Well, the sole fact that that is a thing and it allows me to stay true to myself, it means a lot to me because in the past I did that thing that probably everyone has done at some point, which is I stopped being myself to try to accommodate someone else, to be cool with them, where I was the one who had to give something up that I'm not supposed to be giving up just in the name of having being in good terms with someone. See what I mean? It's like, no, why do I have to be the one changing to for you to accommodate yourself? It's like lowering a bar if you want to think of it that way. It's like, no, if this is a competitive landscape and you're not in the proper shape for it, we do not need to be lowering the bar for you to have an advantage. You need to work on improving yourself so that you can become as competitive. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not being mean, we're not being unreasonable, we're not being haters. It's just that it took us work to get to this level, so why should we lower the competitive standard for you so that you can hop on board when you're not ready to contribute to the degree that we're expecting and need you to. See what I mean? So, again, being loved and admired exactly for what I am and who I am and why I am the way that I am, it just means a lot to me because I, at some point, felt like I had to exist explaining myself, proving myself, or trying to alter myself to be able to fit in or accommodate other people. And it just sucked. It was an even more miserable time in my life than I currently am. But, there's always room for improvement with everything, and I'm not afraid of it now. Whereas back then I was. It's like, I value uh, what those manipulative folks thought and wanted more than I was valuing myself. And I had no idea that that was doing so much damage to me until the damage became severe. And I'm like, okay, now I have to deal with this. And slowly but surely, I have gotten to a better spot in my life. And in addition, someone the sole fact that someone finds me amazing enough for them to stick around, it just means a lot to me. So it pretty much goes hand in hand with what I said previously about knowing that my company is desired and not being forgotten. It's like, nah, someone out there thinks I'm amazing no matter what I do. And it's not that life is about you proving yourself to others, but it's just that as a social creature and someone who depends upon others for your subsistence, comfortable way of living, it's like, yeah, sure, the sole fact that someone out there just gets me and that they are genuine, it just means a lot to me, and I just cannot imagine a day in which I cannot acknowledge that that is important to me. So yeah, you guys, that's pretty much it. I had generated a little bit of a like guide to help me at staying on point and make sure that I mention everything that I mean to. So you guys let me know what kinds of things mean a lot to you, especially the folks who tune into the stream later. Don't be afraid to let me know, especially as you get older, because even though I feel like I haven't changed much when I think about it critically. Yes, I have changed much, even though when I was like in high school, I said, "Oh, I'm pretty sure this is the way I'm going to be for the rest of my life." Hell no. You're just so young and naive, and I'm still young, but it's just different, and I find that fascinating when you have a conversation and discuss the stuff, because at the time that some of you guys were my age, stuff was a lot different politically, environmentally, and I just wonder, can't help but wonder. Time with my friends, that means a lot to me. Definitely. I wish that I would have had more of a social life when I was younger as opposed to burying myself in video games because I was looking for a way to escape. But at the same time, I don't regret it like that because I feel like although I was escaping in video games a lot, when I did escape from video games themselves, it's like some stories were really good. Some stories portrayed in video games were so good that to be able to find a connection to real life fascinated me. I always think, okay, if something is fictional, it has absolutely nothing to do with what happens on real life. Well, no. It's like the X-Men, for example. The X-Men are pretty much like an imagery of social prejudices and even racism and stuff. So the sole fact that I was able to make that connection, a work of fiction, like individuals disguised as superheroes, are actually representing something political, it just meant a lot to me when I was able to piece that together and make that association. So just because I spent time doing things that now I deem a waste of time, I still benefited from it because maybe I would not have understood the lesson being taught in literal terms. Like, this is what it's like to be an oppressive person. This is what it's like to be a racist person. This is what it's like to be a uh, someone who just an overall terrible person. I was able to learn it through another medium, and it doesn't render it any more ineffective or any more effective. Like, it worked for me. Just because it worked for me doesn't guarantee it's going to work for you, but at least I got the lesson a little differently than you. Now, the only problem with that was that I definitely suffered in the socializing department to where I still am socially awkward in person. It's like, sure, I don't know how to reply to your comment that I think has no substance, but I'll try to entertain it, but I'm still terrible at it. So, yeah, it still gives me a little bit of anxiety. I wish I would have had more friends, and I wish that I had more friends now, but at the same time, I'm thinking, remember, Sam, it's not quantity, it's quality. The very few that I have, regardless of how little time I spend with them, the little time that I do spend with them makes up for all the time that I have missed out with them. It's like, right, this is why you're amazing. This is why you're allowed in my life. This is why I like you around. So it's not like I need to be drowning in your presence, but the sole fact that I know I can recur to it, it just means a lot. So so it's interesting. I'm glad that you mentioned that because for some reason I never mentioned friends in anything because honestly, I have never had a truly long lasting friendship. And it's not really anyone's fault. It's not like I did something wrong. It's not like they did something wrong. It's just that we never maintained that communication. It's like pretty much I can compare it to me and my father. It's like we don't hate each other. We don't actively avoid each other. It's just that we are not like cultivating a relationship, but just because we're not doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. See what I mean? Maybe in the future I will have wished that we would have spent more time together, or that our broken relationship would have been repaired a little sooner. But for right now, I feel okay. He feels okay. So as long as we're both okay, it's like, why dwell on that? So that's the way I think about friends. It's like, if I'm able to come back to you after a year and we're still cool as always, great. Why do I need to dwell on something that ain't broke? See what I mean? So I have friends who are like that. We can go months without talking to each other. We can go years without talking to each other. We catch up one day and it's like, boom, stuff is still the same. Nothing wrong. It's just that we are just terrible at socializing, I guess. But then you get that excitement of, I remember why this person is amazing and why I admire them and like them in my life. Great. So, you don't need quantity, like spending endless days and hours and time with them, but you do know what they mean to you. And when you manage to catch up, it's like, oh, why don't we do this more often again? But at the same time, you don't feel compelled to do it more often because you know that when the opportunity appears, you take advantage of it. So anyways, I thought I would throw that in there. Let's see. Oh, Jimmy, I completely missed your earlier comment. Hello, Zam. I haven't forgotten about you. It's fun to be around you. I used to play a lot of video games, but in recent years, I've made it a point now, my hobby, to get out and play board games and go to game venues and play with people in person. You guys, I guess I'm going to spoil something. Something I have wanted to do is one of these days play a game while I'm streaming so that you guys either see me conquer the mess out of it or see me failing miserably. But I need to find a player so that we can make this happen. I was good at playing domino. I was good at playing uh, Uno. I was good at so many stupid little games, and I'm like, why have I not made a video about this? So I am hoping that I can get that going soon enough. No promises for 2019. Nah, just playing. It's not that difficult. It's just that because we're all adults now, I don't have the time I used to have when I was a kid, to where everyone had the weekends off. Everyone was in school from 8 until 3, and stuff like that. Everyone's life is so unpredictable now. God forbid if you have other variables on the side that make it even more complicated for you to know what kind of a schedule you're going to have. But there's definitely a lot of projects and ideas that I have pending that I consider would be interesting to just try out, but that's definitely one of them. So I think it would be fun to just watch that, like, because it would be live. It's like, who's gonna win this? So I find that exciting. Hmm. This cup needs to say Toyota. Anyways, that's mom's cup. She doesn't drive a BMW, she just got it. I like your hairstyle today. It is flawless. You fit in all styles. You look superb. Thanks so much. I definitely needed the compliment. Compliment and confidence reinforcement. Let's put it that way. My main game is called HeroClix, and I would totally teach you how to play it if I could. But it's kind of complicated, and there are other fun games to learn. Well, I like me some complication, so definitely. I'm gonna write that down so I can just look it up in my own time and see what I can grasp or not. And then you can have I can experience the epiphany moment of, I don't get this complicated game, but oh, actually, I woke up today and I realized that I do get it. like Robo Rally or Splendor or other board games. I remember hearing about Splendor, but just very, very, very vaguely. I feel like Captain America when he had his little notepad writing down the stuff to check out. So that's what I'm doing now. I have a piece of paper in front of me. Is Zumri your real name or handle name? It is actually a handle name, and it is I took one of my favorite cars, which is the Camry, and I took the first letter of my name and threw it in there, and I thought, you know what, Zamri sounds fucking cool, and it actually doesn't sound too far off from my real exotic name. So yeah, we ain't gonna talk about that. No, no, no. Speaking of Captain America, have you seen Endgame yet? Fucking hell. You just reminded me that I have not made an Endgame stream. I did do an Endgame stream. You just didn't see it. Yes, I did see Endgame, Avengers Endgame. And my thoughts about it are I'll just let you watch that particular video. I rambled for a long time, like I always do, but I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. It's definitely not perfect, and now I wish that I could review it again. It's not like I watched it again, but I've talked to other people about it, and other people brought some stuff to my attention that I'm like, oh yeah, I noticed that. I didn't make a big deal of it, but when you put it like that, yeah, that is a big deal. So, yeah, just check out that stream. And feel free to leave any comments on anything that you would like to know my thoughts on, since it is spoiled. I'll check out your stream on that. Good boy. Thank you for clarifying. You're welcome. Well, guys, this is going to be it for me. I'm about to hit the 1 hour mark, and I feel a whole lot better. I feel like I have a lot of life in me, and despite me staring at a screen, I realized that my headache is no longer present. So it might have just been one of those tension headaches. But yeah, that is it. So I will not make any promises about my appearance tomorrow. I am going to shoot for it like I always do, but for right now, no promises. I just cannot wait to the day. I just cannot wait for the day in which I can go back to normal, to where I know I can count on the structure of my days like I used to. It's like, I was here every day because it means a lot to me to be here every day. But anyways, I'll make it happen at some point. You can count on that. Alright, guys, it really meant the world to me to stream this tonight, because it's one of those topics that it just helps me stay positive, and then I get to hear what you guys have to say, and it just helps. And it feels like it's a little like out of the ordinary. I don't like to bring about monotone stuff. So, anyways, wishing you the best of the rest of your weekend. I appreciate that so much, and